Whispers weren't just spreading, they were exploding. And all eyes locked on Sierra, who was gunning straight for Yandy Smith Harris, ready to spill secrets big enough to rattle the whole circle. But right when the storm was gaining speed, in swooped Mendeecees Harris, not just shielding his wife, but firing back at Sierra with a heat no one saw coming. What began as shade between two women spiraled into a full-blown showdown drenched in family loyalty, buried truths, and resentment that had been simmering for years, now spilling out for the world to see. The crowd felt it. Fans swore the tension was so thick it crackled in the air. Was Sierra bluffing? Or did she really hold dynamite that forced Mendeecees to dive into the flames himself? And why was his reaction so fierce? Like a man with the most to lose if the wrong words slipped out? Those questions had people glued to every whisper, every side-eye, every tiny move. One thing's undeniable. If Sierra cracks that vault, it won't just split friends, it could shred families and torch reputations in real time. The night had kicked off with smiles, flashing cameras, a glossy promise of glam. But behind the fake sparkle, eyes darted, whispers sharpened, and everyone who'd tracked this tension knew. Sierra's arrival, chin high and stride blazing, wasn't just about the look. It was a warning shot. People swore Sierra walked in carrying dynamite, like every word had been practiced, waiting for the perfect second to explode. Yandy Smith Harris, wrapped in the comfort of friends and family, clung to her polished smile, but it cracked the moment her eyes met Sierra's. Their history was written in silence, grudges that had never been buried, and the air tightened, as if everyone sensed the storm. Conversations fizzled into whispers, phones slid out of pockets, and a hush blanketed the room. Because this wasn't just small talk, this was about to be a moment. Sierra leaned in, her voice calm but sharp enough to slice through glass. You know, Yandy, people love those pretty little images you sell, those perfect pictures you paint. But what they don't see is what's hiding behind that smile. That wasn't shade, it was a missile, and heads whipped instantly. Yandy let out a soft laugh laced with venom. What are you really saying, Sierra? If you've got something, stop dancing and spill it. Now face to face, their words cut the space like blades. Sierra smirked, head tilted. Oh, I'll say it. I'll say it when the time is right. But when I do, trust me, people will never see you the same again. Gasps tore through the crowd, fans clutched their phones tighter, cameras zoomed in, and Twitter already ignited. But just as the silence turned suffocating, Mendeecees Harris stepped forward. The moment Mendeecees Harris stepped forward, the air flipped, steady, protective, but laced with irritation. Sliding between the women, his voice carried quiet authority. Enough. You're not about to stand here and drag my wife down in front of everyone. Whatever you've got, handle it in private. This isn't the place. But Sierra didn't flinch. Arms crossed, eyes locked on him. Private? How convenient. It's always private when it's about protecting appearances. But when the lies are public, shouldn't the truth be public too? Gasps erupted again, the crowd splitting, some nodding, others shaking their heads. The heat had risen from a spat to a ticking bomb. Yandy Smith Harris slid closer, brushing her husband's arm but never breaking her stare from Sierra. Don't twist this to play the hero. You don't even know what you're talking about. Sierra's laugh cut sharp, dripping with disbelief. Don't I? Trust me, Yandy, I know more than you think. I've kept quiet while you played perfect, but I've got receipts. And if I have to drop them, I will. Mendeecees' face hardened, his jaw clenching as he leaned toward Sierra, the warning clear in his eyes. You think you're going to threaten her in front of me? Not a chance, Mendeecees Harris fired back, steady but firm. Whatever you think you've got, it's not what you believe. Cross that line, and you'll burn bridges you can't rebuild. Gasps rippled. Some fans praised his loyalty. Others whispered his tone felt too defensive, like he had more skin in the game than he wanted to admit. The room split instantly. Sierra's truth seekers on one side, Mendeecees' loyalists on the other. Friends rushed in, voices low, urging calm. Not here, not now. But their words barely grazed the tension. Sierra's voice cut louder, shaking with conviction. You want loyalty? Loyalty means honesty. Loyalty means protecting the truth, not burying it. I've been loyal long enough while you built your image on silence and lies. Not anymore. I'm done being quiet. The energy snapped like a live wire, years of resentment flooding the air, eyes darted, nerves stretched tight. And then Yandy Smith-Harris finally cracked, her composure breaking. You act like some martyr, but you're not the one carrying the weight of a family, of a reputation, of responsibilities. You're just bitter because you don't have what we have. The words landed like daggers, and the crowd froze, waiting for Sierra's next strike. The words hit like a slap, and murmurs rippled fast. Some fans nodded, backing Yandy Smith-Harris, while others shook their heads, claiming she'd gone too far. Sierra's cheeks flushed, her voice trembling but locked in steel. This isn't envy. This is truth. Call me bitter. Call me jealous. But I'm tired. Tired of watching you fool everybody. Tired of that fake smile for the cameras while you hide what you've done. The room froze, silence hanging heavy. Mendeecees Harris drew a deep breath, his hand steady on Yandy's shoulder, voice low but cutting. Whatever she thinks she knows, it's not the full story. And I won't let her come here and wreck my family with half-truths and assumptions. The divide cracked wider, family whispering, unsure which side to take. Some begged Sierra to drop it, while others eyed Yandy and Mendeecees with suspicion, wondering if their defensiveness was hiding something bigger. Then, like gasoline on fire, Sierra pulled out her phone, gripping it tight. That single move sent the crowd into chaos, whispers flying about screenshots, videos, receipts waiting to explode. The air turned thick with anticipation. Sierra's voice cut through it all, steady now. I've been silent long enough. If this is how you want it, fine. Let's show everyone who you really are. The reaction was electric. Gasps tore through the room. People leaned in and security edged closer, eyes locked on the trio like they were seconds from stepping in. The night had swerved into chaos, blurring the line between loyalty and betrayal so sharply it left the crowd rattled. The tension was suffocating. Later, people swore it was hard to even breathe. When Sierra slipped her phone back into her hand, it didn't feel like backing down. It felt like a chess move, a calculated pause before checkmate. Her glare promised revelations still to come, and the silence around her roared louder than any scream. Nobody knew if they should sigh in relief or brace for impact because this storm was far from done. Mendeecees Harris stayed rooted, shielding Yandy Smith-Harris, his tone steady but his anger bleeding through. Let it go, Sierra. Whatever's eating at you, this isn't the way. Sierra's laugh cracked the silence, sharp and bitter. Let it go? I've been letting it go for years. I let it go when she lied. I let it go when she manipulated. I let it go when she threw me under the bus to save herself. But not anymore. Murmurs exploded, fans whispering wild theories about betrayal, sacrifice, and secrets hidden in plain sight. One voice rose above the noise. Threw her under the bus? What does that even mean? Another shot back. It means Yandy sacrificed Sierra to save her own image. And just like that, the wildfire of speculation spread unchecked, each theory juicier than the last. The dam finally broke. Yandy Smith-Harris's polished calm snapped, her voice sharp and unfiltered. You're twisting everything. You're painting yourself as the victim when you know exactly what you did. Don't you dare act like I'm the villain here. Sierra stepped forward, hands trembling but voice cutting like steel. What I did? I stayed loyal when I shouldn't have. I stayed silent when you lied. I carried burdens that weren't mine because I thought protecting you meant protecting the family. And all it did was break me while you strutted around like nothing ever happened. Gasps tore through the crowd. Phones shot higher, and whispers surged as the phrase took the fall-ignited speculation of a buried scandal. Mendeecees Harris's fists clenched, his tone commanding. You're not rewriting history to play righteous. We all made sacrifices. Don't stand here acting like you carried it all alone. But Sierra's voice cracked with tears, raw and haunting. No, you don't get it. You had each other. I had no one. Every time I tried to speak, I was silenced. Every time I trusted, loyalty only flowed one way. Me giving, you two taking. A hush blanketed the room, family exchanging uneasy glances as puzzle pieces dropped, but the full picture remained hidden. Peacemakers whispered for calm, but the fire roared louder. Yandy's tone softened, almost pleading. Sierra, whatever pain you've carried, I never wanted you to feel alone. I may not have done everything right, but I never set out to hurt you. Sierra's bitter laugh cut through like glass. Intentions don't erase actions. You can say you didn't mean to, but it doesn't change what happened. It doesn't erase the nights I cried myself to sleep while I was protecting you, while you slept peacefully next to him. The words hit like a knockout punch, and the entire crowd gasped in shock. Mendeecees' face hardened, his voice rising with heat. Don't drag me into this. Stop twisting it like I'm the villain. Whatever I did it for my family. But Sierra wasn't having it. She snapped back instantly. And what about me? Wasn't I family too? Or was I just useful when you needed someone to cover your secrets? The rawness of her clapback left the room frozen. Friends shifted awkwardly, some covering their mouths, others whispering that this wasn't drama. It was betrayal. One fan muttered, "She's hinting at real history here." Another whispered, "If she tells everything, they're finished." Tears streaked Sierra's face as her voice steadied with fury. I stayed quiet because I thought loyalty mattered more than my peace. But watching you stand here defending your image while dismissing my pain makes me sick. People worship you, Yandy, call you strong, inspirational, a role model. But if they knew half of what I know, that image would collapse in seconds. Yandy's eyes welled, her voice trembling as she tried to hold her ground. You don't get what it's like living under a microscope. Every flaw is magnified, every weakness weaponized. I did what I had to do to protect myself, my kids, our life. Maybe I wasn't fair to you, but don't stand here acting like you carried the same weight. Sierra's voice cracked, softer, now but cutting deeper than ever. I never asked for the spotlight, Yandy. I never asked for fame, cameras, or attention. All I ever asked for was honesty. All I wanted was loyalty for the loyalty I gave. Instead, I became your scapegoat, your shield, your silence. Sierra's words cut like a blade, and the crowd split instantly. Some nodded, whispering. She had every right to finally speak her truth. Others rolled their eyes, calling her dramatic, saying she was cruel for airing family business in public. That's when Mendeecees stepped forward, voice sharp and protective. Enough is enough. You want to vent? Fine. But you're not about to burn down everything we built in front of strangers. I won't allow it. But Sierra was ice cold, her response immediate. You can't stop the truth, Mendeecees. You don't control me anymore. For years, I let you dictate what I said, who I trusted, what I kept buried. Those days are done. Don't mistake my silence for surrender. I'm just waiting for the right moment. The room froze. Her words hung like smoke, heavy and dangerous, and fans whispered like wildfire. What does she know? What is she holding back? Security crept closer, sensing this was a powder keg one spark away from blowing. And even though Sierra had slipped her phone away, everyone felt the storm wasn't over. The promise of receipts still lingered, a thundercloud over the room. The battle lines were drawn. On one side, loyalty and image. On the other, pain and truth. In the middle stood the fractured family, torn between begging for peace or preparing for all-out war. As the night shifted from glamour to survival, reputation hanging in the balance and buried truths clawing their way toward the surface. The whispers spread louder than the music, suffocating the room with tension, while Sierra's chilling reminder that silence was not surrender lingered like a curse no one could shake. Online, fans were already dissecting every second, split between seeing Sierra as a betrayed victim or accusing her of trying to torch Yandy in Mendeecees' polished image. Pale and shaken, Yandy clutched Mendeecees' arm, her voice cracking as she begged Sierra to think of their children, their families, their legacy, before unleashing a storm that couldn't be undone. But Sierra's fury snapped back like a whip. She would not carry the blame for lies she didn't create, and if the fallout came, it would be Yandy's empire reduced to ashes, not hers. The crowd erupted instantly, gasps colliding with frantic whispers. One fan hissed, "She said secrets, plural. That means more than one bomb is hiding." Another added, "This isn't just drama. This is years of silence unraveling." Mendeecees stepped forward, his tone low, steady, but dripping with threat. "Enough. You want to play martyr? You want to act like sacrifice was yours alone? Fine, but don't pretend you're spotless, Sierra. Push me and I'll air truths about you that'll flip this whole room." The energy snapped cold. It wasn't defense anymore, it was a threat. Fans online later claimed this was the exact moment. The fight turned lethal, like a standoff where both sides had ammo cocked but hadn't pulled the trigger. Sierra's glare cut through him. "Do it, Mendes. Say whatever you want. I've got nothing left to lose. But your dirt won't erase what I know about you, or her." She jabbed a trembling finger at Yandy, rage spilling over. Friends scrambled. To separate them, voices panicked. "Stop! You're tearing the family apart!" But the storm drowned them out. Yandy's voice finally cracked, tears streaking her cheeks. "You think you're the only one who's suffered? You think you're the only one who's cried in silence? You don't know the weight I've carried, the things I've buried to keep this family from crumbling." Sierra's head shook violently, her voice shattering. "Don't you dare talk to me about, I was loyal, and you let me drown. While you stayed afloat. Don't you dare stand there and play the victim now." Her words hit like shrapnel, slicing through the last scraps of calm. The crowd gasped, some sobbing at the sheer weight of it, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Mendeecees' voice roared, louder than the music, louder than the chaos. "You think you can come for my wife and I'll just stand here? Not happening. You cross that line and I'll fight back." Sierra stepped in, chest to chest with him, her tone ice-cold but blazing with fury. "Then let's burn, Mendes. If that's what it takes, because I'm done living in the shadows of your lies. If I go down, the world goes down with me." The silence that followed was suffocating, the kind that made hearts pound and lungs lock. Then, from the corner, an elder's trembling voice cut through. "Enough. This isn't how we handle family. We're tearing ourselves apart in front of strangers, in front of the world." The words rippled through the room, but the storm didn't break. Sierra spun toward the elder, eyes blazing, voice cracked with hurt. "I tried that. I tried to keep this in-house. Every single time I was silenced, dismissed, painted as crazy. And now you want me quiet again? Don't you see? Silence is the reason we're here now." Yandy broke down, sobbing into Mendeecees' shoulder before forcing her voice steady. "You don't care about the damage, only about hurting me back. If you loved this family, you'd stop." Sierra's lips trembled as she shot back, barely above a whisper. "If you loved this family, you never would have betrayed me in the first place." The room froze. The rawness rattled everyone. Fans whispering they had never seen something so vulnerable, so devastating, so real. The family was split, some clinging protectively to Yandy, others silently gravitating towards Sao. Sierra as though acknowledging her pain without words. And then came the spark that set the night ablaze. Mendeecees, seething, locked eyes with Sierra. "You think you've got power with a phone full of receipts? Remember this, screenshots don't tell the whole story. And if you want to play dirty, I promise I can play dirtier." The statement sent shockwaves. Fans screamed, gasped, some covering their mouths while others shouted, "This is war!" The idea that both sides had secrets, both sides had weapons, shifted everything. Sierra froze for a beat, her hand twitching toward her phone before curling into a fist. Her voice cut like ice. "Then let's see who survives the fallout." The words hit like a death sentence, sealing the night in dread, chaos, and a chilling promise fans online would later call the point of no return. The second the feud shifted, from bitter arguments to a full-blown war for truth, loyalty, and survival, the family splintered, the crowd shook with shock, and the storm above felt darker than ever. Nothing was fixed, yet everything was broken. Sierra's words lingered like a curse. Let's see who survives the fallout. Silence devoured the room, hearts hammering, breath stolen, fans later calling it the most chilling line in reality TV history. A fight that morphed into war. Yandy's tear-streaked face trembled as she clutched Mendeecees' arm, whispering, almost too faint to catch, "This can't be happening. Not like this. But Sierra caught it, shaking her head with the quiet certainty that this reckoning was long overdue. Mendeecees squared his shoulders, his jaw carved from stone, his voice slicing the air with deep authority. You think you're the only one scarred? The only one silenced? You think you get to play the victim while dragging us through the mud? You're wrong, Sierra. Dead wrong. If you're ready for this game, then know one thing. We're not backing down. Sierra's laugh echoed, bitter and hollow. Backing down? That's your favorite cover story. Years of calling it family protection, years of calling it saving face. But let's be real. It was never about protection. It was always about control. Control of the narrative. Control of me. You control everyone around you, expecting the rest of us to march in line. Well, not anymore. Not me. Sierra's voice cracked the air like thunder. A ripple of gasps rolled through the room. Fans shifted uneasily, phones tilted higher, every lens desperate to catch history in the making. Whispers spread like wildfire, some hailing Sierra as the brave one finally snapping the chains, others defending Yandy and Mendeecees, insisting they only ever did what was needed to guard their family. Through tears, Yandy straightened her spine, her voice trembling yet steady. You don't understand, Sierra. The secrets I kept weren't just mine. They were for you too, for the family. If I lied, it wasn't to hurt you. It was to protect us all from a truth that could have destroyed everything. The crowd gasped so loudly it felt like the walls shook. For the first time, doubt crept into the narrative. Was Yandy not the villain, but the shield? Were Sierra's accusations fueled by half-truths, assumptions, and raw pain? Could the real story be far murkier than anyone imagined? Sierra's expression flickered, her armor cracking for just a second. Then she snapped her chin high, fire blazing in her eyes. Don't twist this. Don't act like protecting me meant letting me drown in silence. If protection meant lying, if it meant saving your world by wrecking mine, then I don't want it. Mendeecees' voice boomed, low and razor-sharp, slicing through the noise. Then maybe you don't want the truth, Sierra. Maybe what you crave is revenge. That's the difference between you and us. We fight to hold family together. You fight to tear it apart. And with that, the room detonated in chaos, emotions spilling over like an earthquake that no one could stop. Family members broke down in tears, some begging for peace, others locking eyes in silent, damning stares. Meanwhile, fans online went feral, flooding timelines with comments, "This is betrayal at its peak. The family is divided forever. Nothing will ever be the same again." Sierra's eyes brimmed with tears, but her voice only grew louder, fiercer. You talk about holding your family together. What about me? I was family too. I stood by you when no one else did. I sacrificed. I stayed loyal. I swallowed my pride. And for what? For you to erase me when I no longer fit your perfect picture? I was disposable. And now you're shocked I won't stay silent? The pain in her words cracked the room open like glass. Yandy's sobs grew heavier, her shoulders trembling as she buried her face in her hands. Mendeecees' chest rose and fell with fury, his fists clenching as if the only thing stopping him was the weight of the cameras around him. And then, boom. The twist nobody saw coming. From the back of the room, a voice thundered, "Enough!" Everyone froze. It was a mutual friend, someone close to both sides, someone whose words carried real weight. Do you even hear yourselves? This isn't about truth anymore. This is about destruction. Keep going and there won't be anything left. No family, no friendships, no respect. Just ashes. The words sliced through the chaos, forcing Sierra and Yandy to pause, the crowd holding its breath. Sierra's shoulders quivered, anger collapsing into exhaustion. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Maybe ashes are better than living in a lie." Yandy lifted her tear-stained face, her voice shaking with despair. "And maybe forgiveness is better than losing everything?" Yandy's words lingered in the air, and for a fleeting moment, silence wrapped around the room, fragile, uncertain, and heavy. Fans watching online sat frozen, unsure if they were witnessing the start of healing or just the eerie calm before another storm. Mendeecees finally broke the silence, his tone low but steady. You've said what you needed to say, Sierra. You've made your point. But understand this. We're not afraid of the truth. If it comes out, it comes out. Just know this. Once it does, nobody wins. Not you. Not us. Not this family. Everyone loses. The weight of his words pressed down like stone. Sierra's lips trembled as her phone glowed in her palm, a weapon she hadn't yet fired. Her eyes darted from Yandy to Mendeecees, then to the circle of faces watching, waiting, fearing. Finally, with a breath that shook her whole frame, she slid the phone into her pocket. The gesture was small, but it detonated like a shockwave, relief and confusion crashing over the room at once. Whispers erupted instantly. Was Sierra backing down, or just reloading for another strike? Was the war finished, or had it only paused? The family stayed fractured. The fans stayed stunned. And the truth, whatever it was, remained locked inside a phone that glowed like a time bomb no one dared to touch. The night ended without answers, but with one haunting question echoing through every corner of the drama. What is Sierra really holding on to? What bombshell could Sierra possibly be holding that has Yandy and Mendeecees this terrified? And the bigger question, did tonight end the feud, or are we just standing in the eye of a storm that's about to hit harder than ever? The fandom is split. Some are praising Sierra for her bravery, while others say Yandy's raw tears showed her humanity. And then there's Mendeecees. His warnings didn't sound like defense, they sounded like threats. Which means the war of secrets could go both ways at any second. But now we're turning it over to you. Whose side are you really on? Was Sierra right to pull the trigger and threaten exposure, or did she cross a line that can never be walked back? Is Yandy the manipulator Sierra painted her as, or the protector she swears she is? And what about Mendeecees? Was he fighting for his family, or hiding behind his own lies? Drop your theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and smash that bell icon so you don't miss a single twist. Because if tonight proved anything, it's this. This story isn't ending anytime soon. In fact, it may have just begun.